everything is good. So people on Facebook, we're also going to go live on YouTube right now. So just in a few seconds, I think we're also live on YouTube right now. Let us know on YouTube if we're live.
I don't see it yet.
Yeah, in a few seconds. Okay. Hi everyone. Let me see. We're not? Are we live?
Yeah, we're live now.
Okay, great. Hi everyone. We're going to be discussing the latest news on atheism, religion, secularism, and politics, everything else you guys suggested. Anna, thank you so much for checking the comments people left for what they want us to cover. She's the boss. She picks what we cover on the news every week. So by the way, before we start, just want to let you guys know to check in the link in the description on YouTube version of this. Sorry, Facebook people, or go to atheistrepublic.com to subscribe to our newsletter, because that's the only way we could really be in touch with you all the time. Because Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, they don't show you always the things that we want to talk about. So the best way for us to be in touch with you is through our newsletter, so subscribe to that. And Jim, just really quickly, we have a new patron that we want to thank, and then we're going to jump into the news.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, we want to thank our donors. We make sure to do that before anything, because without you guys, we most certainly could not do it. We have a $5 pledge from Nuket Tuna Keles. Thank you. I'm sure I butchered that name, but thank you so much for your donation. We greatly appreciate that. You guys keep us running.
On the YouTube live chat, I see Christy, Moose, Renzo, Theo, Mars is there, Dave, Nobel something, Beaches here again. Okay, Irfan, Muskel, Philip, and on Facebook, guys, leave some comments if you on Facebook. I see Cynics, Phil, Christopher, Marhaba. Oh, so from Marwan, Robert, Clayton, guys, in both YouTube and Facebook. If you guys want me to read a comment first, make sure it's relevant to the news we're talking about, and secondly, tag Atheist Republic, mention Atheist Republic, so I know that you want me to read something. Anyways, Jim, let's get into it. What's the first news we're covering? Are you muted yourself, Jim?
Swiss.
Okay, well, sorry. Let's go back, Jim. Okay, don't screw up. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm getting used to this computer.
What's the first news that we're covering?
Swiss Muslim fined 178 pounds for saying Allahu Akbar. A Muslim man, Orhan E, said Allahu Akbar in public and was fined 178 pounds. He used the phrase after spotting a friend while walking. He was approached by an off-duty police officer who told him his quote-unquote loud and clear use of the expression could have caused people to fear an imminent terror attack. He said he was manhandled by officers, and this incident happened in May of last year, but he has just come forward with this story following a recent incident in which another Muslim man was allegedly punched by a Swiss border guard after using the same phrase.
Right, so I don't know if... Okay, so Allahu Akbar means a whole bunch of different things to different people. For a lot of people that are in Western countries, it means the phrase that you shout out before something goes boom, right? But technically, it just means God is the greatest, right? I mean, this is stupid. I think this fine is really stupid. Unless do you know the exact context? He was just saying Allahu Akbar in the street. Why was he saying Allahu Akbar in the street?
He was saying it, as how when one Muslim sees another one, a practicing Muslim, they greet each other with that Allahu Akbar.
You don't greet people with Allahu Akbar.
I've seen people greet them. It's like saying, like when you recognize them, it's like God is great,
Yeah, you don't. It's not a greeting. It's more like some.
Well, it's a proclamation. It's a statement.
Sometimes you use it in exchange for like wow, or like sometimes it could mean holy shit, or sometimes it's like wow, that's incredible, right? Sometimes it's but you don't use it as a greeting. I mean, this fine is stupid, and I hope a whole bunch, all the right-wing audience that we have, and we do have a lot of right-wing fans, which is good. We have left-wing fans and we have right-wing fans, but a whole bunch of people that are complaining about the fact that shedding on Islam seems to be censored all the time. if they are for free speech and they are for people being able to say what they want, I hope they're not biased and they would also see this as a anti-free speech issue, right? Because this is definitely against free speech if somebody is getting fined for saying Allahu Akbar. I mean,
well, I don't know. I kind of disagree with that because I mean, at the same time, it has developed this connotation that you know, I mean, for instance, if I was in a crowded spot and I heard somebody yell Allahu Akbar, I would not be looking around to see who said it. I would seek safety.
What, really?
Just yes, absolutely. Just because of the connotation that it has. For people who have never been in an Islamic culture or around people who use the term frequently, the only connotation that we have for that term is something negative. It's like yelling fire in a movie theater. You know, it creates panic within people. So I can see where that would cause civil unrest in people. You know, by hearing that term, especially people who have who live in an area where Islamic extremism.
Wait, so are you defending this fine then? No, right?
Not necessarily. I'm defending his justification for the fine.
I don't think it's justified at all. I mean, if to me Allah Akbar means like what the fuck, and you want to charge me for that, and you were like, well, to me it sounds like terroristy, I'm gonna be like, well, fuck you. I don't care what it sounds to you. To me, it sounds like I'm just saying what the fuck, or saying wow, or saying just being like, I mean, this is stupid. This shouldn't be fined. But by the way, Theo is telling us, thank you, Theo, for reference, 178 pounds is equivalent to 228 American dollars and 77 cents. Well, Theo, I'm in Canada, so that doesn't help. Jim, go on.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that. I mean, would you use that same defense if you were in a theater and you yelled fire and somebody got trampled because everybody was rushing to the exit? And I mean, would you defend your freedom of speech and say, well, I didn't mean fire like a burning fire. I meant fire like the movie was Fire. Yeah, like it was a good movie.
Okay, but that's stupid. Who would
yeah, it's stupid.
No, but no. Okay, first of all, if there was this fire scene, and so first of all, you should be yelling at theaters anyways. I mean, you should be kicked out of theater if you're yelling, no matter what's destroying. It's not. It's a false analogy. Okay, if it was fire on the screen and I was yelling fire and people thought that like people know what I was referring to, that doesn't matter. I'm just saying that just because to you something means something. Okay, I was raised as a Muslim. Most of my life. Is it most of my life? I think I passed that half of my life. So to me, Allahu Akbar for a very long time didn't mean anything terroristy. In fact, to me, it seemed more. I hated it because whenever I heard Allahu Akbar, it means cartoon time is over, because I heard the azan prayers. It means it usually cuts right in the middle of the cartoon, and the azan starts, and it starts with Allahu Akbar, and that means my mom starts yelling. She could tell that the cartoon is over, and I had to go start doing my homework. So, different people, to them, this means the Allahu Akbar brings up different feelings and different memories and different things to them. But if to you it makes it. For you, if it means a certain thing, I don't think it's if it's our people's responsibility to police their language, but just because it means something specific to you. I mean, again, I'm not defending Islam here. I just think that we shouldn't be policing people's speech because of the way you perceive it.
Okay, well, but not just about how the individual perceives it, but what about having a law because of how society perceives it? Like, for instance, in Sweden, they had that Stockholm bombing where 2 bombs went off in 2010. In 2017, somebody drove a truck into 5 people and killed them. And I mean, and these were all Islamic extremism. I mean, in Sweden, you know, terrorism is a real problem. So, I mean, would you still defend that if you were in a culture that was sensitive to the term? I mean, I understand that you grew up in one where your perception of the phrase isn't sensitive.
I'm actually consistent on this. Like, I think a lot of anti-Islam people that are thinking that Muslims are too sensitive when their religion gets criticized. I support them on that. But this is also something that if you think people are being sensitive over a phrase, you should also be like, well, fuck people's sensitivities. Like, you know, you should be consistent on both sides in this. I don't care you're sensitive on this topic. This is something that people say all the time, and if from not just Muslims, but people maybe even from a Muslim background. I don't know. So, people might even shout it out if they're scared. It's just like in a plane. If there's a turbulence, or if they see something shocking, they might just say it. It just might come out because that's what they're used to say.
So what you're saying is if somebody says that on a plane, if somebody just says Allahu Akbar after they hit some turbulence, you know, panicking or whatever, are you saying that the air marshals should not bother with it? They should pay no attention to it because it's just a phrase?
I mean, I wouldn't blame them for just the way I wouldn't blame the Muslim for saying Allahu Akbar, because that's just a reflex what you say as a shock. I wouldn't also blame the air marshal to be like, what the hell is, like, I understand both of their reflexes at that point, right? But if you go out, this is not a reflex. Giving somebody a fine is like, oh, I just slipped out, a fine, I just gave you a fine, right? If after the incident, then the air marshal like blacklisted this Muslim for not, you know, or put a fine for saying Allahu Akbar on a plane to this Muslim. I mean, in the heat of the moment, I would understand why the air marshal would be nervous, right? But if after everything is calmed down, if this Muslim guy gets a fine for saying Allahu Akbar on a plane, then that would be stupid, I think.
Yeah, and I agree. That's what I'm saying. I don't necessarily agree with the fine, but I understand why.
Yeah, but the fine is the entire point, because the fine is something that they thought about, and they thought it's not something that they did at the heat of the moment. You actually there's paperwork involved. They actually have to think about it, and they still thought this was a good idea to fine a guy for saying Allahu Akbar. That's stupid.
Well, I also think that people should take into account their surroundings and the context whenever they use phrases like that. People who use the phrase Allahu Akbar regularly are aware of the negative connotations that it has, and they are careful to use them only in context. No. So you also have to be aware that some people are just going to use this just to incite disturbance. They're just going to use this just to provoke people's sensitivities.
As a person that has burned the Quran and videoed it and put it on YouTube just because people told me it's too sensitive and you shouldn't be doing it, I might actually go out and say, if people start telling me that you should be not saying Allahu Akbar because people are sensitive about it, I might actually go out and also say Allahu Akbar just because, you know, just because people are saying they're sensitive about some. I mean, no, wait, I don't want to get shot.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe there needs to be some desensitizing, but the fact of the matter is that far number people see a negative connotation of that phrase and people see a positive connotation, and there's a reason for that. So it is not up to people like me to fix that perception. It is up to the people who are using that term to correct that.
Let's move on. Top comment is by John, is saying, being atheist doesn't mean that I'm against freedom of speech. This is wrong. I agree. Carolina is saying, do atheists here really love or find it funny to fine people for their beliefs? Well, judging by the top comment, I don't think they do, Carolina. I don't believe in any God, but I find it ridiculous to ban people for believing something. This is disgusting. Islamophobia, that's what it is. Oh, I was with you, Carolina, until the very end. It's not Islamophobia at all. Islamophobia is a stupid term. I agree that we shouldn't be policing people's speech. I disagree with the fine. But please don't use the word Islamophobia. Maybe try using anti-Muslim bigotry. Islamophobia is nonsense. There's nothing wrong with being against Islam. Let me see anything. You check the YouTube live chat. Again, some people. So when people, it's funny to me when people say like, "Oh, I'm leaving." Well, leave. I don't care if you're. Yeah, go on.
Theo Mackey says, ultimately, I wouldn't blame caution, but that's no reason to fine someone for speech. This sets precedent. There will be people who will try to get people arrested over speech. And then he said, don't you mean Allah Akbar? No.
Pablo in the Facebook live chat is saying you sound reasonable and well thought out. I'm gonna assume he's talking about me. This is my first time listening. I like to listen to you more. Thank you. That's very sweet.
You're welcome. I know you're talking to me.
Okay, go. All right.
Bernita KT in the YouTube chat says, Armin, in Spain a few months ago, a group of evangelists entered the metro and they started yelling to the people that they were sinners and they're going to hell.
Is that about
panicked and a woman was injured. The evangelists were put in jail and fined.
Well, I have to. You can't. I have to see the incidents. Okay, like even the word Allahu Akbar, right? You could, or even the word like, okay, forget Allahu Akbar. Like, if I say in the name of Jesus, okay. Or if I go into the street in the middle of a crowd and like, in the name of Jesus Christ, or something like that, and people panic and run in every corner, I guess...
Why would people panic, Armin? And when people scream, in the name of Jesus, there's never a boom after it.
No, but I guess it's about the way you say things, right? Like,
no, it's not about the way you say things. It's about the connotation that usually when you hear Allahu Akbar,
okay, what if you were coming right out of an abortion clinic, and I know it's not equivalent, yes, Islamic terrorist attack is astronomically higher than abortion bombing or whatever, right? But you heard somebody yell that out, right? No, it's not. It's not a good example.
But that's not what happens, though. That doesn't happen.
Right. Okay, but in the example in the live chat, I have to see the situation. Like, I might be against those people being arrested. If they were just telling people that they're going to go to hell, they should be able to tell... I mean, how aggressive were they in approaching people? Are they just holding pamphlets and telling people, hey, do you want to know why you're going to go to hell? Or were they in their people's faces and shouting at them? Because there's a line that you cross that is all of a sudden becomes harassment, right? And if it's harassment, then you have laws against harassment, right? Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like that's really a false equivocation. I feel like that you can't really compare somebody proselytizing Christianity to somebody yelling Allahu Akbar, something that is usually followed by an explosion.
No, it's not usually followed by an explosion.
Whenever you look at it in context, in Western context, or even in Swedish context, I mean that's.
I mean, Muslims in Sweden say Allahu Akbar all the time, and it's usually not followed by an explosion. Again, I'm not an Islam apologist. Let's move on. Next comment, read comment, Facebook, YouTube comments.
Let's see, next YouTube comment. Muscal says
this is weird, by the way, because usually I'm on usually people that are more left leaning, they're on your side and on our YouTube on our page, and the right leaning people are more sometimes on my side. I think today is the other way around. But go on.
Muscal. Muscal says, is it Allahu Akbar? Yes, to my understanding. If I'm wrong, correct me on that, Armin.
No, it's Allahu Akbar, yeah.
And that's the last one.
Okay, let me see if there's anything. Yelling Allahu Akbar incites fear. You know, some Muslims like that. Some Muslims enjoy the fact that Allahu Akbar. Some Muslims hate that because they're like, oh, why are you so scared of Muslims? But I also met Muslims that enjoy the fact that they can, just by a simple phrase, they can cause terror in the hearts of the infidels. Yeah. They feel very badass about the fact that they could do that. We're just saying something. All right, next news.
Melissa Joan Hart told her son that only people who believe in Jesus are good. During an episode of the podcast Journeys of Faith with Paula Ferris, actress Melissa Joan Hart commented sometimes, quote, "It's not easy being Christian." Hart was raised Catholic and is now a Presbyterian. And when her son was transitioning from a Christian preschool to a traditional school, she told her son, "We don't know if these people are good people. We don't know if they believe in Jesus." And he really took the Jesus part to heart.
I mean, how could you be this stupid? I really don't know. Yeah, does she, like, do these people really think like all non-Christians are bad people?
Well,
Like,
she said that only people who believe in Jesus are good. So, I mean, obviously she has a very subjective perception of what good is. Apparently to her, good does not mean moral. Good means
yeah.
a Christian.
Oh, that's actually, that's a very good point, because this is actually very true according to Christianity. Like, she's being consistent, because
Yeah.
when a lot of people say, oh, how do you get your morals if you don't have Christianity or Islam or anything like that, you're very right. In Islam or Christianity, the good doesn't mean moral. Good means just believing in Jesus, because you could be the shittiest person in the world and just ask for forgiveness and Jesus will forgive you, or you could be the best person you could be the kindest, most charitable, loving person in the world, and according to the Bible and the Quran, if you're not a Muslim or a Christian, you're just going to burn forever, for eternity, right?
Right.
This is such a sadistic view, and they're teaching him to the poor children that they're being. Wait, didn't she play a witch in her?
That was going to be one of my points. It was very hypocritical. I mean, for years she played a witch. Now, granted, she was younger, and I don't believe she was as fundamental of a Christian. But it seems like lately she's started to express her Christian side more, and it's really hypocritical. Not just because of the witchcraft thing, but just to say that in order to be a good person, I can run into a fire and I can save a child from a burning building. But if I'm not saved by the salvation of Jesus Christ, if I am not committed to the Son of God as my Lord and Savior, then I'm going to hell. If I reject that God, it doesn't matter how much good I do on earth. I am not, quote unquote, good in the eyes of God unless I accept His Son.
Oh wait, but this was Sabrina, right? The
yes,
witch.
Sabrina the teenage witch.
The top comment,
with the talking cat and
the top comment says Sabrina the middle-aged witch.
Ooh.
I don't know if that's ageism or what. Let me see. Tim is saying, says the girl who got her fortune and fame from witchcraft, spirits, and spells, all sinful and demonic actions forbidden by her Jesus. George is saying, seems like I don't know what that's. I think that's a cultural reference that I'm not getting. Mark is saying, and people that don't believe in Jesus are great. Silly witch. Jesus is for kids. Anything?
Oh, that's good.
Anything in the YouTube YouTube
yes.
comments?
Jack McGallen's. Oh wait, that's the last one. Theo Mackey says. Well, everybody keeps going to the last one. Philip Boardman says, no, I'm right-leaning and still on your side. Conservatives love free speech. Theo Mackey says, apparently they have a Jewish neighbor. Yeah, Theo Mackey, apparently there was some sort of a conflict between them, and she was being accused of being anti-Semitic, and it was pretty interesting. It's something involving her son being friends with their Jewish neighbor and saying that she didn't want her son to be friends with a neighbor because he was a Jew or something along those lines.
Raxmus is in the Facebook live chat, which is our sound guy for our sound engineer. I don't know engineer is the right word, but he's going to probably correct me later. For Secular Justice. He's saying the same thing as one of the top comments, which is, I think, a reference to the show, which I'm not getting. Clarissa, explain it all. I don't know what that's referring to, but for whoever is a fan of the show.
She was on another show called Clarissa Explains It All, I believe.
She is Clarissa. She will always be Clarissa. Okay, yeah. Some people are in the Facebook live chat are asking questions that is not relevant to the news we're covering. As I explained before, we're not going to... Are you sure you covered everything in the in the YouTube live chat, or do I need to check?
No, that's it.
Okay, good. Let's go to the... Wait, hold on. Why is this not loading? This is why I need you guys to help us out so I could get a better computer. Hold on. It's loading. It's loading. I just saw it loading just a few seconds ago. I don't know why it went away. 1 second, guys. 1 second. Sorry. Come on.
Jeez, Armin, get your stuff together.
It's my computer. It's not loading because I have two Facebook live streaming, YouTube live streaming. Ah, god damn it! People are gonna lose their patience. These people in the live chat, especially in the Facebook live chat, here, are not very patient. As soon as they get bored for 1 second, they're announced to everybody that, hey, we're leaving, and we want to let you know that we're bored and we're leaving. Okay.
It's a live stream, not an airport. You don't have to announce your departure.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's loaded. Tell me what's the next news.
Next news: Canada helped pressure Thailand to protect Saudi women, says Human Rights Watch. Rahaf Mohammed Al Kunun was trapped at Bangkok airport trying to flee her family in Saudi Arabia. She had renounced Islam and feared her family would kill her once she returned to her country. Thailand immigration officials tried to deport her, but she barricaded herself in her airport hotel room. Canada played a role in convincing the Thai government to not send her back to Saudi Arabia, which was against her wishes. A spokesperson for Global Affairs, Stefano Morone, said that Canada is very concerned and is watching closely the situation of Miss Rahaf Al Qunun.
You didn't watch the update on this news?
Yes. We have an update on that. She has actually been granted asylum in Canada, so Canada has offered her asylum. So that is fantastic news.
Right, and so for people that want to show that they're not biased, because a lot of people have been shitting on Justin Trudeau, Canada's Prime Minister, for being very regressive leftist sometimes, and also like saying stuff, accepting former ISIS members back in Canada and welcoming them back in Canada, and saying some very backward shit, right? And he has been receiving a lot of attacks for that, so rightfully so. But I hope now you also praise this, because I mean Australia was pretty slow in granting her asylum, even though she was under a lot of threat, especially after the story went public. By the way, let's just make this clear: a lot of the news that covered this kept on talking about the fact that the male guardianship, that's the issue in Saudi Arabia, and that's why she's in danger. No, she renounced Islam. She's an open atheist. She's an ex-Muslim atheist. The fact that some news outlets didn't cover that, it really pissed me off, because it showed that how atheism is still something like, hey, maybe we shouldn't touch that. Maybe we should focus on the male guardianship is batshit crazy, and it should be mentioned, and it should be fought against. But this woman was in a lot of danger because she completely has abandoned Islam. I guess abandoning Islam is still not PC in some places. However, it did get a lot of attention by some other mainstream news outlets. The fact that she left Islam, the fact that she's an atheist, the fact that she's an ex-Muslim. And this whole news story has done more to normalize apostasy and leaving Islam than any work that we have done for a very long time. Like, this was a giant leap in normalizing abandoning Islam.
And she actually went through a lot of trouble to do it. She was telling stories about how she was locked. I'm sure people have seen her videos. She was talking about how she was locked in her room for 6 months straight because she cut her hair. And she was on this trip with her family in Kuwait, and then she ran away from her family. Then that's when she caught the flight to Bangkok, which is the capital of Thailand. And then the Saudi diplomat took her passport when she was on a connecting flight in Australia. So she was stuck in Australia.
Wait, she was stuck in Thailand. Jim, come on.
No. She was having to get a connecting flight in Australia, and she had to get she was going to get an Australian visa. But that's what she was going to do. I'm sorry.
No,
she was going to do.
She was going to Australia. She had a connecting flight in Thailand. In Thailand, some Saudi connections managed to get her passport away from her, which that needs to be investigated, because who the fuck managed to get her passport away, even though she had a legit visa to Australia? She wasn't staying in Thailand. Why would the Thailand officials even get involved? Everything was legit. They say that you don't have any permission to stay in Thailand. She didn't need permission to stay in Thailand. She was in transit. That's fucking bullshit, and that needs to be investigated. But
yeah, thank you for correcting that. I was trying to get the order straight. I couldn't get it straight.
So, but by the way, this a story like this happened a couple of months ago with Dina Ali. She was going also to Australia, but she had to stop in Philippines. She had a very similar story, and the Philippine government sent her back to Saudi Arabia, and we have not heard about her ever since. She has disappeared. So that was a disaster. This story turned out much better. She was very smart to start tweeting about it, and a whole bunch of online activists started raising hell about the fact that they're sending her. Thailand was about to send her back to Saudi Arabia, saying this is a family issue. Fuck you! It's not a family issue. This is a human rights issue. She could be killed if she gets back to Saudi Arabia. But the amount of noise that it was made online put so much pressure on the Thailand government. I mean, the Thai police was getting thousands of phone calls. See, Twitter is good for something, people. This was trending everywhere, and they eventually came in and protected her. She didn't go on the flight. She didn't get on that flight. And some Saudi people mentioned, they were caught on video mentioning that they wish that they took her phone away, not just her passport, because her phone became her weapon, right?
Right.
And now Canada is giving her asylum really fast. They made it happen. Australia was very slow on this. Canada made it happen. Justin Trudeau stepped in. Again, all the shit that he's done still stands. Everything you do, you're against him for all the other stuff. But for this, you need to be consistent. For this, he deserves praise. Thank you, Canada, for stepping in. And you know, Rahaf, welcome to Canada. I'm on the West Coast. You're going to be on the East Coast. So I'm hoping that I'm not going to be anywhere close to where she is, but I'm happy that Canada stepped in here. But
yeah, absolutely. And for the people who don't know, with this whole male guardianship thing in Saudi Arabia, in order for a Saudi woman to apply for a passport, which is what she needed to do, if she's not married, she has to have the approval of either her father or her brother, because in Saudi culture, a woman does not have a right to her own legality until she is, well, she never does. So until she's married, that authority comes from her father or her brother until she's married, and then it passes on to her husband. So that might possibly be a reason why, Armin, is because they recognized that she was Saudi and was applying for a passport and didn't have that permission.
Doesn't matter. Once she's outside of Saudi Arabia, Saudi rules do not apply outside of Saudi Arabia. For Thailand to even consider applying an authoritarian government's laws on its own land, the Thai government should be shamed, and they should investigate who was the person that stepped in to take her passport away from her, and how is Saudi Arabia has this connection. Still has his tentacles all over the fucking planet, and that needs to be. Yeah, go on.
I wonder how many of these Saudi officials are operating outside of their capacity, outside of the country, implementing these cultural laws that are internationally illegal or against UN human rights laws. Like, you know, for instance, in Thailand, you know, people, you know, are there Saudi officials there that are implementing these Saudi laws, and what can we do to bring light to that? I mean, because it seems like that is what's going on.
Well, Saudi Arabia
how widespread is it?
It's losing its influence because of all this Khashoggi thing. But you know, I mean, again, you have to remember, like, Justin Trudeau, he promised Raif Badawi's wife, who is in Canada, that he's gonna look into pressuring Saudi Arabia to get Raif out. And after he got elected, for many years he completely ignored his promise, because at that time it wasn't popular to be against Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was too influential. But now, because of all this Khashoggi thing, it's becoming popular. And again, this shows that maybe when politicians do actually do the right thing, it's not because maybe it's the right thing. It's because activists on the ground made it popular to do that, right? So because of all this Khashoggi thing, now being against Saudi Arabia and is a popular thing to do, and politicians are there to take advantage of that popularity. And Canada, because of all this, Canada recently had a lot of bad a relation with Saudi Arabia, which is good, because now I'm hoping that Justin Trudeau, because of seeing that how much maybe good PR he got out of this, he might actually go and put more pressure to get Raif out of Saudi Arabia as well.
But again, the focus shouldn't be on. I mean, yes, we need to get people out of these harmful situations, but getting them just allowing these things to continue and just getting people asylum and transferring citizenship is not the solution here. I mean, we have to address this at the source.
Well, it does, but the thing is that saving these people does also address the source, because think about it. Rahav's story wasn't just about her. Her story has highlighted a lot of other people that are in her situation, right? And it's also, hold on, I'm not finished, Jim. You have to wait for me to finish. And it also, you know, helps also bring, you know, this, Saudi Arabia has had really bad PR recently, and the bad PR, it has been very helpful in cases like this. But this itself has become a huge nightmare PR for Saudi Arabia, which is going to even help us more with governments that are, you know, governments like Australia, Canada, United States, for them to be even more popular, for them to stand against Saudi Arabia, and, you know, because it's becoming popular. To do so, it's easier for the politicians to do. I mean, the politicians just look for what's popular and how they can get votes and stuff, right? So stories like this help us put more pressure on Saudi Arabia. I mean, think about it. A lot of the people that deny how hard it is for people to leave Islam, this story makes it very difficult for them to continue avoiding this. A lot of people in Islamic countries have to deal with a lot of shit if they want to decide to even be skeptical about Islam. So this highlights that. So this is not just about Rahav. She has helped highlight. The situation, and also what she has also done is that, as much as activism people do, as atheist activists, ex-Muslim activists, secular activists, there are still millions and millions of Muslims that are in a bubble that don't even know that leaving Islam is even an option. Because it doesn't really get to mainstream media or anything like that. They have never even considered. They didn't even know that's an alternative. They live in that bubble that they think that's not an option. When I see this on mainstream news, when I see this on BBC, when I see this on Philip DeFranco, this means that it's getting a much bigger audience than what we could ever achieve. And millions of Muslims are reading about a girl that left Islam, and that would be a revolutionary new idea for them to even be exposed to for the first time. And for me, that is going at the source, because this is how you make tomorrow's ex-Muslims. Anyways, go on. Sorry.
But you just got finished saying that these people who are living in Saudi, who are subscribing to these beliefs, are living within this bubble, that they don't know that they can leave Islam. So people on the outside tweeting about this and circulating these things, yeah, that's doing great for people who have access to this. But for people who are still can I finish?
Yeah,
I mean,
go. Sorry.
So for people who are living in this bubble, you know, they don't have access to that, and not only that, but people are being penalized. So I mean, if you look at any great transformation of you know, civil rights, or any kind of a drastic change in people's rights, it has been done from the inside. I mean, yes, people on the outside have helped, but it takes somebody on the inside in order to spread the message in a place where it otherwise would not be seen.
Bullshit. First of all, they do have access, and as somebody pointed out in the live chat, the reason why we knew they have access is because they hate her so much right now. A lot of Muslims there hate her so much, specifically because she's an ex-Muslim apostate, and they know, and that shows that they know it, and that they are actually tweeting the fact they are trying to now spread rumors about her, trying to say that, oh, she had sex with this person or that person, and that's why she's leaving. And they're trying to like, which shows how disgusting these people are, and how sex negative they are. Which that's why that's their first their first line of attack when they try to defame somebody. But they hate her so much more than so many other activists that I've seen, that they're trying to come up with hashtags that make it trending, that defames her. And the level of disgust that I've seen is specifically because she's an ex-Muslim apostate. I've seen all the tweets, many of the tweets that are coming out of Saudi Arabia. They are referring to fact that she is a dirty apostate, so they know this story has reached them. And to me, that means that it also has reached a lot of people that could be too much. Remember, Saudi Arabia has around 5% atheists. That's huge for a country that is Saudi Arabia. Okay, that's what we know of, and that's secretly atheists. Okay, but that shows that we are reaching to these places. And no, change doesn't always come from the inside. Change comes a lot of times comes from outside, and usually in the countries where free speech is not when you don't have free speech, you do need help from the outside. You do need help from places where they have free speech to become your voice, because they don't have the platforms that you have. So no, outside influence is important.
But outside influence is important. But what I'm saying is that in order for any change to happen, there has to be somebody on the inside to make that change. So me tweeting about it, anybody tweeting about it, the whole world tweeting about it can't do anything if it's not changed by somebody on the inside. Take, for instance, whenever they lifted the driving ban for women back in May, I believe it was, of last year. They arrested 12 female activists a couple of days, the 2 or 3 days before the ban was lifted, as a sign, as a pretty much of a warning, like, yeah, we're going to pass this, but we're not happy about it. And 2 of those women were the top people who were speaking out against male guardianship. And so, I mean, you have to have somebody on the inside who can implement these things, because we can have ideas, but in order to turn ideas into implementations, you have to have a medium, somebody to do it.
Yeah. Anyways, really quickly, I have to say, first of all, this story proves that change could come from outside. And this story, all the people outside of Saudi Arabia that made her story trending are now also weakening Saudi Arabia. And a weakened Saudi Arabia is a Saudi Arabia that eventually one day would not be able to silence all its citizens. So change can start from the outside. But also, I want to mention that there's another person, Hakim Al-Arabi, I think. He's also stuck in Thailand since November, so don't let his story go ignored. On Twitter, they're using the hashtag Save Hakim. He's stuck. He was a refugee in Australia. He went to Thailand for his honeymoon, and they arrested him in Thailand by the Thai officials because Bahrain had put a warrant on him. Bahrain is an authoritarian Islamic regime, and he was supposed to be under the protection of Australia. And for Thailand, he's been in prison for months, and the only reason why they put a warrant against him is because he has been, during the Arab Spring and stuff, he was criticizing the authorities there. And for Thailand to keep carrying out the work of authoritarian regimes, Thailand should be shamed. And I'm hoping the story of Rahaf is going to bring attention to the story of Hakim. Again, if you want to help, go on Twitter check out the hashtag Save Hakim, and that's Save HAKEEM.
Right. Yeah, it's really important, just to add on what Armin was saying, that just because it's not going viral does not mean that it doesn't need attention. I mean, we can create the attention for these things, and while we personally may not be able to change what's going inside, we can help somebody in his place, and we can help somebody that is in a middle ground, that is seeking asylum. We can appeal to these countries like Canada, and I guarantee you, it's only because of the social media presence and everybody sharing her story that it appealed to Justin Trudeau. If it hadn't been for the popularity, it never would have been done. And
also, Asia Bibi is still stuck in Pakistan. She's in danger. We need to bring more attention to her. Basma is a Yemeni ex-Muslim. She's in Turkey. She might get kicked. She might get back to Yemen, and she's in danger. And one more person, Sharif, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Gaber. He's the Egyptian atheist. He's still in danger. We need to bring more attention to his story. Sharif Gaber, if you could figure out what's the update with him, maybe we could cover it in next week's news story. Anyways, the top comments on the YouTube, on Facebook is, we are already in Saudi's bad book, so why not help her? Yeah, exactly. See, when you when you get in shit with Saudi Arabia, that's a good thing, because now Canada doesn't have anything to lose. Henry, Canada is such an MVP. What's an MVP?
Most valuable pimp.
Oh, okay. Selena says, so proud to be Canadian. Well done to all parties involved in getting Rahaf to safety. Well, I mean, I don't think, again, I'm not a very nationalistic. I'm happy what Canada have done, but I'm not proud of something that I haven't done. So because I haven't done it, I'm not going to claim pride over something that I'm not responsible for. Nicholas is saying, it seems to me that Canada is on the sane country left, is the only sane country left on earth. Man, we do have our shitty moments as well. Good work, Canada. Anything on the YouTube? I'll look at the Facebook. Guys, make sure you tag Atheist Republic if you want me to read anything.
Beej is saying that there are so many on Twitter going on about her sex life. Yeah, I've seen that too. Just people trying to discredit her and make her seem like she's lesser than whatever.
But it's really a smear campaign against themselves, because it's so amazing to me that every time they want to attack somebody, sex life is the first thing that comes to their mind, and it shows how obsessed they are with people's sexuality and what people do in their bedroom. It just says more about them than anything else. It's so bizarre. But yeah, but they're going out of their way to try to, like, any picture she has next to another person, they're like circling that person. Oh, he was standing next to a man. Oh my God, we must have been having sex with him. Jesus, like, it's so, like, I've seen it. It's so stupid and it's so pathetic, and I keep doing that, because it's just. But the interesting thing is that the same people that helped her story get out are now using the hashtag, that they're hijacking the hashtag to try to smear her. Now that hashtag is being used to praise her, so backfired very good on them. So, anyways, anything else we need to read?
Jack McAllen says, we have to remember that she is very lucky this got attention, so she did get help. This Saudi Guardian issue isn't unique. No, it's not unique. It just seems to be the most latest problem. Muhammad Abdullah says, ex-Muslims have my greatest respect. As an Alawite, we have had to hide our beliefs for centuries due to the repercussions we could face from Sunni Muslims if they knew our beliefs. Oh, we have an Alawite Shia Muslim in our live chat. That's cool. All right. But Mikhail Mikulik says, are we sure that she is an atheist? Oh, yeah. Rejecting Islam doesn't mean that she is an atheist. Did she state her atheism clearly anywhere?
Yeah, she said there's a there's a beautiful, where is her quote? Because she has a beautiful quote, actually. She renounced Islam and she's an atheist. She's ours. You can't have her. No, it's our tribalism.
While you're looking for that, Jack McAllen says Thailand got involved because they caved to Saudi law about guardianship over women, which is BS. Yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about before. About, I'm wondering how much reach these Saudi authorities have, and why places like Thailand are allowing them to implement their cultural law or religious law over them, especially in a place like Bangkok. I mean, that's crazy.
This is her quote about her atheism. This is her full quote. By the way, thank you to CFI for turning this into an image quote. So it made it very easy for me to find. So they will kill me because I fled and because I announced my atheism. They wanted me to pray and to wear a veil. and I didn't want to. Quote by Rahif. And also, by the way, she's more than just an atheist. She, right after now she's landed in Canada, and she just tweeted just today that don't forget Hakeem. This Hakeem is stuck in Thailand. So she got 100,000 followers because of on Twitter because of all this, and now she's using all the attention that she's getting to bring attention to Hakeem's case. So I love her for doing that. So thank you so much for doing that, Rahaf. Yeah,
Theo Mackey says, "Hell yeah, West Coast son." And I don't. Yeah. Let's see. I don't think that's what they mean by West Coast.
Okay.
I think that's it. Let me see here.
Sorry,
that's it.
I left the Facebook. Guys on Facebook, make sure if you want me to read anything, it's relevant to the news, and make sure you tag Atheist Republic. Nothing here. I'm not saying what. Why is not Facebook not? Okay, guys. Sorry, Facebook is not letting me scroll all the way up to the comments. So if I miss anything on the top, I apologize. Don't hate me. All right. Should we go to the next news? You're muted, Jim. Get your shit together.
Son of a gun, I'm telling you. Homosexuality at fault for sex abuse, not the Catholic Church, says a German cardinal. In an interview with news agency DPA, Cardinal Walter Brandmüller, one of the most senior German figures in the Catholic Church, denied that sexual abuse was a problem in the Catholic Church, saying that the problem was caused by gay men rather than Catholic priests. He added that it was, quote unquote, statistically proven that there was a connection between homosexuality and sexual abuse. Fuck this guy.
What is he talking about? There's a connection between it. Okay, maybe, okay, this would be more accurate. Yeah, people that are found to be gay are sexually abused a lot. What is he talking about? Connection between homosexuality and sexual abuse. Homosexuals are often the victim of abuse.
Well, he's claiming that only a very, very small number of priests were the ones who actually perpetrated the abuse. And he went on to say that it's statistically
what
proven. What
statistics? What does he refer? Does he has a source? Does he provide a study? He doesn't.
No, he doesn't cite a source or anything. He says that 80% of these Catholic Church sexual assault cases involve males, not children specifically. So he's saying that's the connection. That's because there are more males that are. Yeah.
The connection is that it's mostly inside the fucking church, because gay people outside of your church are not abusing children. You fucking. I was gonna use it, but anyways. But what is he talking about? Like, if you look at all the correlations, I mean, no, correlation is not always causation, but in this case, I think it is. It's in your church. Gay people are not molesting children outside of your church. They're getting along fine, just like the rest of the society. It's your church that makes that numbers go high. Like, just, I mean, this actually, a lot of people within the Catholic Church wanna, actually within Islam as well, which is very interesting. They keep changing the homosexual and pedophile as if like they're kind of the same thing. You know, it's kind of the same mentality where some parents wouldn't leave their kids alone with somebody when they find out that they're gay, as if pedophilia and being gay, and they want that. They want that because it's interesting, because they don't see, they're not. The whole child molestation part is not the thing that they traditionally want to touch on as something evil. They have to go back to the evil that they recognize, which is homosexuality. Everything has to be turned back to what they recognize as evil. But this is very interesting, because even in, for example, when you had one of my ex-Muslim activist friends, Jimmy Bangish, which is the person that started the Allah is gay sign. When some Muslim people were criticizing him, they were telling him that, oh, your sign said Allah is pedophile. I'm like, no, my sign never said that. My sign said Allah is gay, which shows to me, it's obvious. It shows that for them, these words are just interchangeable. Like, oh, it's just sexual deviance. That's all the same thing. But I mean, we have to actually thank this guy, because I want these people to keep saying these things, because they're embarrassing the Catholic Church. I want them to keep saying that, because more people need to see how fucking backward and stupid the churches.
What's even more embarrassing is that they get their whole justification from a verse that says, you know, a man shall not lie with another man as with a woman. As he would with a woman, and he's claimed that these are perpetuated by the victims. But I mean, to use a very crude phrase, you know, I mean, if you're having gay sex, both of you are gay. It doesn't matter who's pitching or who's catching. Like both are committing sodomy, which Christianity views as a homosexual act, especially if it's between two men. So I mean that it doesn't make sense. Like he's not saying that these clergymen are homosexuals. I don't understand how he's giving them a pass.
I mean, the fact that what he's saying is fucking batshit crazy is obvious. Right. But one thing we need to point out is that this guy is not just a random priest. This guy's a cardinal. Like, this is really high up, right? And this is not something that he just said like oopsies. Like, no, this is a very common view among their church. This is what homosexuality, but it's so fucking, and I don't think they even recognize how stupid they sound to us and how backward they have it. But I want them not to recognize that, because I wanted to say more. And the thing is that it's anybody listening to this, they have to. The way I look at it is like these people are responsible for protecting a lot of crime against children, right? And even after all this shit, instead of taking any responsibility, they have the balls to go out and try to blame it on the immorality of the world today. Like this kind of attitude is more than just stupid. This kind of attitude, whoever has this attitude, you have to tell them that they are covering up for child molestation. These people, when they try to find a scapegoat and they try to put the blame everywhere, these people are excusing child molestation, and they're part of the cover-up. Not just this cardinal, any Catholic, any person that says like, oh, it's because of the modernity or homosexuality or the things. Tell them that, hey, fuck you, you are coming up with excuses for child molestation. Your church did this. This is your church. Your church is responsible for creating these people and also for protecting these people.
Right.
So fuck you, not just because this is not just an opinion. These people are actually donating to their church. When you are a Catholic, you are protecting these people. And people should tell you, when you see a Catholic, let them know that you are excusing child molestation. Every Catholic you meet, letting them know. It doesn't matter if they're not high up or anything. If you're supporting this organization, the Catholic Church is not really about Jesus anymore. That's just a secondary thing. This is now an organization that its main role is to create a safe environment for people to molest little kids, and also for spending millions of dollars in legal fees and other fees to protect them if they get caught. This is the main purpose of this organization now, and anybody donating to it should be shamed for it. But go on.
I wanted to add something, and I want to in no way detract from this abhorrent excusing of these awful, horrible actions. But he does make a point in the interview that you and I both perpetuate quite often, that I kind of want to reiterate. He said that it must be emphasized that there are hundreds of thousands of priests who faithfully and selflessly serve their church, and that to put them under general suspicion is unjustified. So to just make a blanket statement and say that all of these priests are sexual abusers is not okay, and not just because of the way he's looking at it, because it gives them a bad image, because I believe that they deserve that image. But I believe that we don't need to do it because it desensitizes the accusation. I believe that whenever we use that, whenever we use the term sexual abuse, we're using it where it applies, because we don't want to make it so generalized that they have an excuse or a reason to say, oh, well, we're just being victimized because of the actions of a few people.
Yeah, we have said it on this show. I mean, fuck this guy, but me and you have said it on this show time and again that don't say that somebody must be a child molester just because they're a priest. They're not, okay? Many of them are not, okay? But there's this 3 level to this. The first, actually, there's 4 level to this. The priests that are molesting children, right? Those they should go to church, to jail, not church. They should go to jail. But then you have the other priests that are helping covering it up. They should also go to jail. And then there's another layer is that even though most priests are not child molesters, the whole church, the whole environment of the church causes that. I mean, somebody in the live chat is mentioning a study that it actually encourages that. So that just, if any other organization was doing that, there would be police all over the place, and people would be in handcuffs. Or even people that didn't do it, they would be called for questioning. But then the lowest level is that not just every priest, every single Catholic that wasn't even part of the cover-up, every priest that hasn't molested a child, and every priest or any Catholic person that wasn't part of the cover-up, they shouldn't go to jail or anything, but they should still be shamed for supporting an organization that does all that.
Absolutely. I believe that everybody should know that these people are operating in this public capacity and allowed to be going into these private places with children, and they have in the past excused and covered up and defended other people committing these acts of sexual assault. I believe that other people need to be aware of the potentially dangerous and harmful situations that they're putting their children in. Okay,
so can you let me read the top comment? What? Sorry.
Let me do the YouTube.
No, let me read the top comments on the post first. The post first by Darren is saying the headline should have read "Old man in a dress that believes in an invisible sky friend seems out of touch with reality about basically everything." Well, okay. Glenn is saying for 2,000 years this bunch of assholes have been lying to us and destroying our country, our freedom, and of children. It's high time that we fight back. Yeah, these people should all be in jail. Australia is doing a good job, by the way, at fighting this shit. Steve is saying, and God, we shit on Australia recently, but at least in this thing, they're getting it right. Steve is saying, and God could have stopped it at any time, but chose not to. Okay, so any comments on I'll look at the Facebook live chat, see if there's anything to read, but you look at YouTube.
Theo Mackey says, damn it, Jim, we need to hear you. Yep, I know. Okay. Theo Mackey also says, the article mentions a study that said that the vow of celibacy, aligned with the largely unchecked power of some religious leaders, had exacerbated the problem, not homosexuality. And yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's kind of what I was saying, like parents who are allowing their children with these people who have just this unchecked power and are looked at as divine and inerrant, unable to commit these crimes or these actions. It's crazy just the trust that these people give them. Muhammad Abdullah says, if this man offers you sweets, children, just say no. Yep. Just say no.
Well, no, I don't know. No, I wouldn't. If you don't know if somebody is a child molester, don't accuse them of that. But even if they're not, the fact that he's covering up for it makes him an asshole. But go on.
Well, he's not saying that. He's just saying don't take candy from strangers.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean, it's a joke. It's okay to joke, by the way. So, I mean, yeah, but go on.
Yeah. Theo Mackey said, this guy said, what has happened in the church is nothing other than what is happening in society as a whole. We focus on the church scandals because they try to get away with it. Yeah, yeah, you're right. And he's saying that basically the rampant homosexuality in society is responsible for this, and that it's just happening in the church as a byproduct because the members of the church are citizens.
Well, there's two defense. The Catholics, when they have two defenses for this. When you mention this, is first they say that well, we have this kind of evil everywhere. Okay, and also they say the second defense is, well, the church is cracking down on it. For the first one, to the first one, we have to say, first of all, two responses to the first claim. We do have it everywhere, but not as much, like per capita wise, your church has a serious, astronomically higher problem. Okay, come on. Yeah, it's nowhere as big of a problem per capita as it is in your fucking church. Okay, so you must somehow, I think, I mean, based on, I mean, according to Theo, there's studies for it, but I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, but it seems very likely that your church and your doctrine has something to do with why this is happening so much. Okay. Second of all, yes, it happens everywhere else, but guess what? Any other fucking organization would be shut down by now if it had as much as scandal as you had. There's something wrong with you. You guys are actively trying to protect your people from actually getting justice. No, I can't think of other organizations that are like this other than religious ones, right? But and also, no, your church is not cracking down. There's just sometimes they pay lip service. They're still moving them around. They're still not sharing information with the police. So no, fuck you. Your church is not like other organizations. Your church is a unique case, and yeah. Anyways, go on. Anything else?
Noblesse Oblige in the live chat says, I think they can't make the distinction between pederasty from homosexuality. Yeah, you're absolutely right. For those who don't know, pederasty is the sexual act between a grown man and a young boy. Jack McAllen says, they're just desperate to defer blame, and to do so, they pick something they know is still something the church and practitioners are very much against. It's so weak. Yeah, it's exactly weak. And at the same time, somehow they're still giving them an out because they're still committing the same violation that they are accusing the victim of. But somehow it gives them a pass because they're like you said, they're just deferring the blame. Theo Mackey, go ahead.
No, but I'm glad they're doing it. I want more people to see this stupidity. But go on.
Yeah. I missed Muscow. Muscow said, as an ex-Catholic, anything to make them look bad is good with me. Yeah, but it's important that whatever we say, I mean, it's okay to like joke and make generalizations as long as it's made known that we're making a generalization, as long as it's in context. But whenever we start accusing people and actually making these real accusations that are blanket statements, it really gives them a defense to claim persecution.
If you're not careful with overgeneralization, it doesn't help. It backfires. It makes you not be a very, when you lose credibility, then you're not going to be taken seriously.
Theo Mackey says, the editor of the conservative Die Welt newspaper described this on Twitter as a, quote, a disgraceful way of relativizing the guilt of the Catholic Church and defaming homosexuals. Yeah. Right. Casey Atheist says, the Pope has blamed Satan, homosexuality, not taking any responsibility. Yeah, and that's what they do, and that's what all different kinds of pastors do. Like there's a mega church pastor who was just outed by his church for gambling, buying prostitutes, and doing drugs and stuff like that, and he blamed the devil. He said, the devil got to me or whatever. Let's see.
I mean, I don't mind them getting prostitutes. At least that's consensual sex instead of this child molesting stuff.
Right.
Yeah, but it's still hypocrites for doing it. But go on.
Yeah, you're. I mean, definitely hypocrites. Let's see.
Let's go to next news, I think.
Okay, next news.
All right, next news.
India's lower house passes citizenship bill that excludes Muslims. Huh.
This is a misleading title, by the way, but we'll talk about it. Okay.
Amid protests in northeastern Assam, legislators approve a bill that will grant citizenship to non-Muslim immigrants. The legislation will still need the approval of the upper house. It seeks to grant the rights to Jains, Hindus, Parsis, and several other non-Muslim religious groups who have migrated without documents from Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. Critics have called the proposal anti-Muslim. Lawrence, why are they? Why are they calling that anti-Muslim, Armin? Is there anything?
Well, because they're giving it to everybody. They're granting citizenship to non-Muslim migrants from Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, right? Non-Muslim. So if you're a Muslim, you don't. This doesn't apply to you. But if you're non-Muslim, it applies to you. So people say, like, what the hell? This is anti-Muslim bigotry, right? So the thing is that they're giving asylum to people that are running away from Islamic countries because they're non-Muslim, right? So
right. Well, I mean, it's because these people have no place else to go, and these are the same people that they are running from, you know. And I mean, to just give everybody else access, you know, I mean, it kind of affects their safety, wouldn't you say? It kind of would disrupt that. So
the title makes it seem like India is doing a very very bigoted thing, right? So India's they pass citizenship that excludes Muslim, right? But if once you start looking into it, it looks a little bit more. I mean, I'm still not sure. Let's see what we think about this, right? But because again, it's a government that is putting a religious test. You're protected if you're not Muslim, but you're not protected if you're Muslim. That seems like the government protecting people based on their religion. But at the same time, if people are running away from Muslim countries because they're a minority, obviously not being a Muslim is part of them being the minority. If you're a Muslim, you're not being. So I don't think I could blame India. I mean, think about it. If you land a helicopter in ISIS territory, and two women run towards the helicopter, and you only have one more spot left, you get maximum weight capacity, and one of them says, "I'm a Yazidi woman," and the other one says, "I'm a Sunni Muslim." Which one are you gonna get on the plane? Obviously, Yazidi woman, because the Sunni woman might have a chance of staying alive. I don't know, but
I think it depends if they say Allahu Akbar or not.
Okay, no, but you get them, Jim. I cut these stories into pieces, so if you're referring to earlier, if you're referring to earlier stories, people will not know what we're talking about.
Well, they should be here for the live chat.
Okay, but no, but at the same time, then now we're having government being. I don't know. So that was the argument for why it's okay. But again, do we want the government to be asking people about their religion, whether they get protection or not? That seems kind of like I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. Let me see what people think.
Well, at the same time, also, this bill doesn't just exclude Muslims, but it also is giving citizenship to Hindus who are undocumented, who don't have papers or any kind of proof that they are citizens. So that's another thing too. I mean, I can understand granting people asylum, but they're granting these people actual citizenship without them proving who they are.
Wait, how can they even know who's lying or not, right? Like, I could be, like, because Pakistanis and Indians, they are pretty much the same ethnicity. So what if you just say, yeah, I'm a Hindu, and now you just granted citizenship? Like, how are they going to test if you're telling the truth?
Well, I mean, the only thing that they have to go off of is your documentation, and that's what I'm saying.
No, but you're just saying they're giving citizenship to Hindus who don't have paperwork. So you could just go and say you're a Hindu, and now you get citizenship.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's not a good idea. Can
somebody? Where is our Hindu in the live? Suraya, we need Suraya. Is not in the live chat. He could clarify this for us. Theo Mackie is saying the article is great. Theo Mackie has already looked into all these articles. Thank you, Theo. The article also says the bill is unlikely to pass the upper house of parliament because the chamber is not controlled by the ruling party. Okay, so it's unlikely to pass.
Right. It was pretty much a political move trying to get Hindu voters, because the Hindu voters were this appealed to them, and they were excited about allowing undocumented Hindus in. So that's what some people believe, is that it was an appeal to that side.
You know, this is a very good political move for some people that are trying. You know, even if it doesn't pass, if you're trying to get some anti-Muslim Hindu people on your side, you could be like, hey, look, I passed. I was on the right side of this bill. So maybe you're not even interested in this passing. You're just trying to get some people some Hindutva people on your side.
Well, and this was huge. I mean, because they had some huge protests. As a matter of fact, last Tuesday they arrested more than 700 people who were protesting this. I mean, 700 people. That's a lot of fucking people.
Right, but again, the title was a little bit misleading. Who posted this? This is Al Jazeera. Oh, okay. It made it seem a lot more bigger. I mean, it's still problematic, I think, but the title made it seem a lot more bigoted. That, I mean, the interesting thing would be if they're giving citizenship based on citizenship, full on citizenship or residency. What are they giving?
Citizenship is everything that I've read. I've read three different articles.
So if they're giving on full on citizenship to people, non-Muslims that are fleeing Muslim countries, would they give it to Shias that are leaving Sunni countries? Or would they give it?
I don't know. It's
or
still
would they
Muslim.
give it to? Because that's Muslim, but they're still leaving. Or Sunnis that are leaving Shia countries because they're prosecuted, and Sunnis are Sunnis are prosecuted in Shia countries, and Shias are prosecuted in Sunni countries. So you should let some Muslims leave. This is why it
benefit them though, because because Bangladesh is bordering Assam. So I mean, you have these people who are migrating across the border from Bangladesh into Assam. So I mean, they're neighbors. So there's a huge population of people that have been trying to come over, and illegal migration has been a problem. But now they're just allowing it. I mean, for only select few people, and it's I think it's all political.
See, yeah, and again, this is why you should. I think I made my mind right now, unless somebody comes and corrects me later on, that I'm still against this bill, even if it is a misleading title. Even if once you look into a little more into the details, it seems like it was based on protecting people. It is as Jim said, seems to be political and I think even if you could make a case that hey, maybe we should have non-Muslims fleeing Islamic countries, we should prioritize them. I don't think it's a good idea to have a blanket strategy based on religion or lack of religion for who you protect. I think you should just study people's situation case by case and figure out what situation they're dealing with. If it's a Christian or Yazidi, you could just look up the story and why they're in danger, and not come up with blanket rules based on people's ideology, right?
There are a lot of practicing Muslims who still escape these countries because they don't necessarily agree with the way that Islam is being like practiced.
Ahmadis in Pakistan or something. Yeah, okay.
What's that?
Like Ahmadis and stuff like that, or Baha'is in Iran.
Yeah, exactly. People who have a more what I would consider a more moderate approach to Islam.
Don't say that.
How did I know you were going to jump my ass for that? I knew you were going to jump my ass for that. But okay, so people who don't have as fundamental what?
Different. Just say different. Different.
People who have a different, less harmful.
Come on! You're just trying to piss me off right now.
But shit, I'm trying to. Okay. Next.
Okay. Let me read the top comments. Somebody that I can't pronounce their name. I think they're from India, which is good. Now we get some information. Correction: excluded immigrant Muslims as their threat to national security. Ooh, this guy is a. So he's saying it's not just for. So he's just looking at it the other way around. It's like correcting the title. They're excluded immigrant Muslims because they're a threat to national security. Again, I think a blanket policy like this, it doesn't make any sense. I think they should investigate it case by case. But I understand that's expensive. But this will backfire. This is the best way to get the Muslims that are already in India. To play the victimhood card and get some extremists out of the Muslims that you already have in India. Stephen is saying it actually might be fair since Muslims value faith over country. Again, we're against Islam. but I don't think you can make a general statement about Muslims like that. Most Muslims actually don't care much about Islam. Most Muslims are nominal Muslims that care about many things above Islam, and that's why most Muslims are good people, because most Muslims ignore Islam. Ravi is saying Muslim migrants are excluded because they were granted a separate country for Muslims in 1947, Pakistan and Bangladesh. Well, you can't use another country's policies to excuse your country's non-secular policies when they try to come up with policies that involves people's religion in their decision making. It's a little bit like two wrongs make a right fallacy. Can be like, well, they did that, so we're going to do this. Well, India, one thing that is great about India is secularism, and stuff like this is making it less secular when you use religion in policies. So we have a lot of top comments from India, so they're giving us a lot of context. This is good. Another top comment, which I can't read the pronounce the name, is: since when did atheists start caring for Muslims? Hidden agenda, Atheist Republic. Well, I guess you're new on Atheist Republic, because we care for Muslims and all human beings. We don't. Yeah, we're against Islam. We're not against Muslims.
Yeah, because I mean, you have to remember, Muslims are still victims of Islam. We care about victims of religion, whether or not they are out of that religion or not.
Somebody saying admin is from U.S. I think maybe his country can take Muslims from Bangladesh and Pakistan that will want immigrate from. Again, these are, I guess, a lot of people from India are offended by this article, because they're like, we don't want Muslims here, so fuck you, take him to America. First of all, I'm not from U.S. Jim is from the U.S. I'm not from the U.S. It's just very interesting, because they assume we're from the U.S. This shows that even non-Americans think United States is the de facto country.
Well, and not only that, but they assume that myself as an American citizen have any say with what my government does. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, we don't. People's like, oh, you're not from India or from Philippines or from Canada, so you don't get to make decisions for our country. Like, hey, we don't get to make that much decisions for our own countries either. But we all get to have opinions about your countries, and you get to have opinions about our countries.
In the live chat, Jack McCallan says, in jokes or reference outside stories, just encourage people to watch more.
I don't know.
Let's see what else we have.
Okay.
I think that's all we have.
All right, let me see if there's any. Oh, Grant has tagged Atheist Republic. Good thing I didn't miss this one. Unless you denounce Islam, you will always be Islamic. You less denounce religion, you will always be religious. Hence, you will always be brainwashed, or you can be free of propaganda. No, I mean, but let me tell you, Grant. I'm an ex-Muslim. I was a Muslim for half of my life. I lived in Iran for more than 20 years. I could tell you I lived among many Muslims. And most Muslims that I met, most Muslims that my family were Muslim, didn't, I mean, they were nominal Muslim. I mean, I'm not saying Islam is not harmful. Whenever Islam has an influence on anything, it's a negative influence. But what I'm telling you is that Muslims are not influenced by only Islam. They're influenced by many things. Whenever they are influenced by Islam, Islam is a negative force. But most Muslims that don't ever read the Quran, they don't know. If I make up a made-up verse in the Quran and I tell them, they will believe me. That is a Quranic verse. They don't make their decisions based on Islam on a day-to-day basis. But if you ask them if they're Muslim, they say, yes, I'm a Muslim. But many Muslims are also practice Islam, but they don't think about Islam other than when they're praying or fasting. But there are also some serious Muslims that let Islam influence their life, and that's when it's harmful. But it's not true. A lot of people, I mean, I still think that people that call themselves Muslim but don't really have Islam influencing their life, I agree that it would be actually helpful if they actually could make them denounce Islam. A lot of people are like, well, if they're not practicing, what's the harm? Well, they're providing cover for Islam, because even by applying that label to themselves, they're making the numbers of Muslims inflated, and they're giving authority to a barbaric, backward religion. So even if you're a nominal Muslim, it's still progress if you go as far as becoming eventually an ex-Muslim. So I do still encourage that, but we do have to see the differences. There's many differences between Muslims, and I agree all form of being a Muslim is problematic to some degree, but it's not all the same. Right. Anything else?
That's all I see.
Okay, let me go to the next news. Jim, next news.
All right. Belgium bans religious slaughtering practices, drawing praise and protest. Belgium, home to roughly 500,000 Muslims and over 30,000 Jews, put a ban on the Muslim and Jewish ways of ritually slaughtering animals. The religious minorities in other countries fear they are the targets of bigotry under the guise of animal protection. Animal rights advocates and right-wing nationalists push to ban the ritual slaughter. Director of Global Action in the Interest of Animals, Anne de Grief, said, quote, "They want to keep living in the Middle Ages and continue to slaughter without stunning, as the technique didn't exist back then, without having to answer to the law," she said. "Well, I'm sorry. In Belgium, the law is above religion, and that will stay like that."
Good.
And bravo to her. Bravo to her for standing up for her law and for pointing out once and for all that religion does not dictate society.
Oh, by the way, Renzo in the YouTube live chat is saying the headline is incorrect. Renzo is often right about these things, so I'm going to see. He says the headline is incorrect. It was the federal government that passed this ban. Oh, it wasn't the federal government that passed this ban. It was the regional government of Flanders, Belgium's Dutch-speaking region where I live. Okay, so thank you so much, Renzo, for correcting that. This is why This is why it's great that we have such an active live chat.
So what was it? Just in Belgium, or was it in Brussels? Because it went through the Belgium Constitutional Court, I believe.
Yeah, but I think they were trying to challenge it, maybe through the Constitutional Court. But nevertheless, this is great. Wait, so Renzo, are you saying this doesn't apply in all of Belgium? Is that what you're saying? Oh, but Renzo continues.
Oh, later it's in the northern Belgian region.
Yes, northern Belgium.
Of Flanders.
Yes. Renzo is correcting. Later this year, Walloon, the French-speaking region, will also ban this practice. Yay! Which means that slaughtering. Wait, hold on. Which means that slaughtering without stunning will still be allowed in the Brussels for now. Renzo is also saying that the Constitutional Court might overturn this law, as might the European Court of Justice. Oh fuck! EU law allows for religious exceptions. Fuck! You should fight this. This should become your. And EU law is legally superior to national law. Fuck! Hey, this is one reason why EU is more regressive than some of the European countries. You know, whenever you're offending both Jews and Muslims at the same time, you're probably doing something right. This is like a huge win for decency, you know, and for humanity and for compassion, right? This is a country showing that it's not going to let religion bully them around. And you know what? When I was recently not recently, last year I was in Australia, and I did like a short documentary, and one thing I said in the video was when they said halal meat. So this is against both halal and kosher, right? Kosher, both of them are because just to clarify, why is it? Well, I mean, it's not the same, but the reason why they're both inhumane is because the most humane way to kill animals is with the stun gun, right? Is that what it's called?
Well, it's to stun them first. What they use is a stunning bolt, and it basically drives a steel rod into the brain, and it stuns them, so they immediately don't feel pain. But in halal and in kosher practices, the animal has to be clean, which means it can't be stunned, and it has to be killed by having its throat cut and its major arteries opened. and they claim that that they don't suffer, but they didn't have the practice of stunning or the benefit of having the technology of a bolt gun to stun the animals before. Right. And there's a lot of countries in the European Union, like Sweden, Norway, Iceland, Denmark, and Slovenia, that don't allow for any religious exception. That according to it's something to do with their animal rights law. They have to stun the animal before slaughter. But Belgium is one of the European Union countries that still allow for that religious exception. And like we were corrected, it's only been done in the northern part in Flanders, and then the southern part.
Yeah, we already said that. But so to be clear, when Muslims, when they want halal meat, the claim is that you cut their neck, right, and then you have to let all the blood to pour out, right? Is that right?
Yes, or it's unclean.
Yeah, but by the definition of clean in Judaism and Islam is different from what the rest of us mean by clean, because when we say clean, we are talking about no bacteria, nothing that causes you to get sick or something. For them, blood is just like has magical unclean powers. So that's why you just like, so if the whole thing for them is to get the blood drained out, right? But again, this for their methods, the animal suffers. And they have two things to fight to fight back against this. First of all, they say like no killing the halal way. Again, I was mentioning about my story in Australia because when I was shooting at an ad for halal meat, I said like, oh, halal means they torture the animals before they die. And a lot of Muslims got offended by that line, and they kept on saying, no, halal is the most humane way to kill animals. And that's bullshit. The stun gun is the most humane way to kill them. But they get really offended by that because they keep on saying that this is actually, Islam made it a lot more humane. And it used to, it compared to some other barbaric ways, right? But then, again, this is a whataboutism that they always use because they just compare it to something. To try to justify why their way is humane, they just compare it to something that causes more suffering than the way they do it. But just because it's better than something that is worse than the way you're doing it doesn't mean that the way you're doing it doesn't cause suffering. We know that the most painless way to go through slaughtering animals is not your halal way and not your kosher way. And if you wanna torture animals, well, fuck you. We don't. That's your religious laws, and you do not get to enforce that on the rest of the society. And the fact that EU has religious exemption, that's horrible. Basically, the EU is saying that if you shouldn't. We're gonna support laws that makes animals suffer less, but if you have a magic sky daddy reason for why you want to torture animals, then we let you torture animals. Well, fuck you then, EU, for letting people torture animals. Oh, and the second excuse is that this whole our way is cleaner. And again, that's that excuse is also bullshit because your definition of clean has some magic thing with blood. The dirty. Again, in Islam, for example, they use the word najas. When they want to translate it to English, they say unclean, but that's bullshit. They mean spiritually unclean. Najas means spiritually unclean. We don't give a shit that something is spiritually unclean. But go on. You want to? Yeah.
Whenever you're supposed to slaughter these animals, you're also supposed to say in the name of God whenever you slaughter them, and you're not allowed to. And you're not allowed to. If something has been strangled or stabbed or shot or anything like that, it's not considered halal. Or if it's roadkill or whatever like that. But there has to be a certain prayer, isn't it? Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, isn't that what they say before they cut their throat?
They don't say Allahu Akbar. Not everything is Allahu Akbar, Jim. They say
I'm pretty sure they do.
They say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, which means in the name, or just Bismillah for sure, which means in the name of God, the merciful. Rahman and Rahim both kind of mean merciful. There's a little bit of difference in the definition. But you have to just, and the way we were told in Iran is that you also have to point it towards Qibla, towards Kaaba.
Yeah, and no other animals can see it happen. Like, it has to be alone, away from other animals.
Oh yeah, they actually take so much pride in that. Like we care about animals so much that we don't want the other animals to see that you're killing it. But well, okay, if we care about animals so much, then this is the most painless way. Yeah, this is what religion apologists do. They have like a whole bunch of bullshit that they defend, and they sprinkle it with a little bit of like kind things and humane stuff, and every time you try to point at the suffering and the bullshit, they try to redirect the attention to the kind stuff. Well, like, okay, well, that's there, good, but this is still fucking barbaric. You're still torturing animals. That doesn't excuse the fact that you're torturing animals.
Well, and even if they find some justification for it and say that it's not as bad, still they cannot argue that these animals experience pain for whatever amount of time, from the time that their neck is cut to the time that they lose consciousness from loss of blood, which even if it's seconds, it's still longer and more torturous than if they were to just stun it.
Right. So the top comment is on Facebook is law should always be above religion. Well, I mean, humane laws should be above religious laws. That's how we clarify it. Bert is saying, I hope the Netherlands, will follow their example soon. Good for you, Belgium. I hope that you guys, if EU tries to take this away from you, I hope there is, animal rights activists. This is your moment to actually do something that helps, because a lot of animal rights activists have been harmful in my way for animal rights because of the way that they have treated animal rights activism. A lot of them are good though, but I think if you want to do something that is really like the animal rights activists in all of Europe should like protest against EU if they try to make Judaism or Islam come before protecting animals from being tortured. You want to read anything in the YouTube live chat?
There's only one. Daniel Yerke said, have you seen the movie No Country for Old Men? Oh, that doesn't have anything to do with this. Never mind. Nope, that's it.
There's a stun gun in there, I think. That's why they're saying it.
Is there?
Yeah, Grant is saying, this is good. Let's go back to the way normal people used to slaughter and prepare food. I think you mean let's not go back. Let's do it humane. Because the stun gun is the most humane way, and it's not the way that people used to do it. Chris is saying, okay, Chris, that question is not relevant to the show, but the answer to that is yes. Grant is saying, does anybody know this? It's not torture, it's how to do it. Your meat does not get contaminated. It's not. It's the stun gun. The Muslim, a lot of Muslims and Jews, they're trying to make it sound like their way. It makes it sure that it doesn't get contaminated. That's bullshit. There's nothing in their religious practices that ensures that. In fact, the health standards that these Western governments that they're in have on making sure the food is not contaminated is way above their barbaric ancient standards that they have.
Yeah, if they were worried about contamination, then the original law would say, "And thou shalt bleach surfaces before butchering,"
or just wash your hand in. One thing that could be in every scripture that would have saved like millions of lives if it was in the Bible or in the Quran: wash your hands in wine before doing surgery.
What about covereth thy mouth when you sneeze?
I don't know how many thousands that would save, but I'm pretty sure just saying that one thing, wash your tools and your hands in wine before you do surgery, would have saved millions and millions of people.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, wine back then didn't have a very high alcohol content either.
I think it's just a little bit is enough. Correct us if we're wrong. Or maybe just boil it in hot water. How about that?
There you go.
Boil your equipment in hot water before...
Sterilize.
Before you use them in surgery. All right, should we go to... Hold on, this is not loading. Okay, it's loading now. Let's go to next news.
Murder suspect tells judge, I'll chop anyone up who disrespects Jesus Christ. Wow. Okay. Nathan Albane, a 29-year-old from Utica, New York, has been charged with murdering and chopping up the bodies of his 90-year-old grandmother and 87-year-old landlord. He told the judge, I'll chop anyone up who disrespects Jesus Christ. he said that he committed the crime in the name of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ, indeed. Wait, his grandmother disrespected Jesus, and he chopped her up. Like, how? What do you mean chopped her up? Like, how did?
I mean, like he murdered his grandmother and landlord and cut them up. This is insane.
But so they both disrespected Jesus. But what the hell? Okay, so two questions. This guy is fucking insane. I don't know if I can. Again, we try to be fair here when Muslims do bad shit, crazy stuff. We don't always blame it on Islam. We do sometimes blame it on Islam. We will try to look at. I mean, this guy seems like he's just fucking nuts. I don't know if we could blame it on Christianity. Can we blame this on Christianity? I don't think we can. I mean, is there anything in the Bible that tells you that chop up anybody that disrespects Jesus? I don't think there is. I think this is just on him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that he's going to pull some sort of justification. There's no real justification. No,
there's no biblical. I mean, we're not trying to defend Christianity. Christianity has a lot of verses that excuses atrocities and and oppression and discrimination. There's a lot of batshit crazy stuff in the Bible. And it's definitely not a good book to guide life or anything else. But I don't know if you could find anything that excuses this behavior. Can you? I don't think so. Can you?
No.
No.
No, it's crazy. And somebody caught him on video actually dragging the body down the driveway and putting it into the car. And he crashed his car into a pole. And when the first responder showed up, he said that he killed somebody. And then when the police went to his home, that's where they found his grandmother upstairs and found the 87-year-old landlady Jane Winka in her downstairs apartment.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy, this is just on him. He's just fuck. I mean, the fact is that religion does have a bad influence on people that are already insane. Like even when people are insane and it's on them, religion is still a negative influence, right? So religion is still sometimes has a partly to be blamed a little bit, even when it comes to insane people. But this is mostly on him. I shit on Christianity often, but in this case, I think Christianity doesn't deserve a blame here. Would you call this Christian terrorism?
No.
Why not?
No, I wouldn't. I would call this terrorism because he incited terror. But I would say that it's not religious extremism.
I mean, if a Muslim commits an act of terror in the name of Islam, even if it wasn't, I mean, when you do Islamic terror, there's sometimes you could find justification in the scripture, and there's sometimes that it's a little bit off, not Islamic. For example, we had examples of that. Like we did blame a lot of ISIS activity on Islam. We blamed Islam for it, but there are also some things barbaric stuff that they did that we didn't blame Islam for it. We were like, we don't think they could find a justification for that. Even though we're not letting Islam off the hook, because there's a lot of stuff that we do blame Islam for when ISIS does it, right? But even when you can't find a direct link, if they're doing it in the name of Islam, is technically Islamic terrorism, right? So even in this situation where you can't blame Christianity for what he's doing, if he's doing it in the name of Christianity or for Christianity, technically this is Christian terrorism, isn't it?
Right. Well, and what's sad is that February of last year, the police came to the house because the very same his very same grandmother was choked by him, and she told the police that he put his hands around her throat and choked her until she couldn't breathe, and he didn't serve any time for that. So I mean, I think that we need to do a better job of noticing warning signs and not being afraid to implement measures that can prevent something. I mean, everybody wants to be so sensitive about, you know, freedom of speech and freedom of expression, but I think that there's a fine line between allowing speech and expression and allowing these warning signs to go unchecked. I mean, it's a complete red flag. Somebody choking out their own grandmother and not going to jail or doing any time.
Wait,
like that's a warning sign.
Wait, you think choking your grandma is a warning sign? Of course.
I mean, unless she owes you money.
No, okay. So no, but this is obviously, Jim. Come on. But this guy is. It was just insane. Let me just see the top comment. Oh wait, it's not scrolling down. Oh, here we go. There is no hate like Christian love. And okay, that's the top comment. Curtis saying, somebody please relay the message to him. Fuck Jesus Christ and his daddy too. Oh, he like basically people are challenging him to come after, like they're insulting Jesus to see if he's gonna come do anything about it. Timothy saying, nothing fucks up morality quite like the idea that a third party can forgive you. Actually, that's true. I don't know. I don't think that applies in this case. I think in this case, this guy was just insane. But you're right, Timothy, that the idea in Christianity where you could be forgiven for every sin just because of believing in Jesus as your Lord and Savior, and He will forgive all your sin, that really is a good way to fuck up people's moral standards. So even if it doesn't apply to this case, you're right about that. Deji is saying Jesus doesn't exist. I never did. Oh, really? You're saying that? Okay, the guy's you're on an atheist page. You think? Thomas is saying, doing your Sky Daddy's dirty work. I see. Okay, that's kind of fine. All right. Anything in the YouTube live chat? You're muted, Jim.
Daniel Yerke says, do you think it's a bad idea that usually the only reading material you have in mental institution and prisons is the Bible or the Quran? I mean, yeah. I mean, I do personally, and I also feel like it's bad that if you're in prison and you want to have any chance of seeking parole, you have to you have a better chance of getting off if you have some kind of divine epiphany and convert to Christianity. Because I mean, you know, a lot better chance of somebody saying, "Oh, I'm a Christian now," and it for some reason that plays a role in it. I don't know.
All right, let's go to the next news.
Okay, next news. During government shutdown, Muslims are voluntarily cleaning up national parks. Due to the government shutdown in the United States, employees of national parks are unable to work, but a group of youth Muslims are volunteering to clean up the litter left by tourists. Volunteers were associated with the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association. Quote, I hope it shows that we're not here just to talk about Islam the whole time, says spokesperson Salam. We're here to be part of America. That's awesome. That's really great. I applaud these young people for stepping up. And
you need to give some background to our non-American viewers that because of the government shutdown in the United States, there's a whole bunch of garbage piling up everywhere, right? And these
I thought I covered that.
Oh, you did? Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I wasn't paying attention. No, but yeah, okay. So these Muslims are, and these are the same Muslims that picked up the mess in Times Square after the ball drop at New Year. These are the same group.
Yeah, so these people have been cleaning up everything from Florida to California, from coast to coast. They've been picking up everything in these national parks. And now, whether or not they're the same ones in Times Square,
I think it's the same group. I think the same group. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody. But this is nice. This is very nice, and I think that first I want to say that again, this shows that you could be thankful and appreciative of Muslims while shedding on Islam at the same time. But be careful when Muslims or Christians or even atheists, when they do nice things, or Buddhists or whatever, give credit to the individuals, not to Islam. Okay, there's not to Christianity, not to atheism. Atheism doesn't tell you to go clean garbage. It doesn't tell you to do anything, right? But don't. But let me finish. I'm just saying that you have to you have to separate Muslims from Islam. Muslims deserve credit when they do great things, but don't pass on the credit that you're giving, not because they're Muslim, because they're good people. Okay, this has nothing to do with the fact that they're Muslim. These are just good. The fact that they're Muslim is just a separate one of the many things about them. In fact, the fact that they're good people is a bigger deal about them, I think, than the fact that they're Muslim. You being a Muslim doesn't mean that Islam is the main part of your identity. In fact, for me, these people, Islam is a minor part of their identity. There's nothing in Islam that is worth praising, in my opinion. These people are worth praising. These people are worth thanking. But be careful not to say like, oh, look, Islam can be good. No, Islam can never be good. Christianity can never be good. Muslims can be good people, and they are. Many of them are good people. Christians can be great people, and they are. Many of them are great people. But Christianity can never be a good thing, right? But that's just a side thing, just to make sure that we say that. But at the same time, when you meet these people, when we're talking among ourselves here, we can keep pointing it out. Like, please don't let this thing make you defend Islam ever. But that's not the point I would make to these people if I ever met them. The only proper reaction, I think, is when we meet these people is to just say thank you, right? I think that's the only thing that the main point that you need to bring up in a situation like this is that we're grateful and thank you so much for your for volunteering. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. And I mean, even though that there can be justification in these religions for this, like for example, I know Christianity uses "do unto others as you would have others do unto you" as justification for them doing these actions. But it's important that even though that is their justification for it, that whenever we recognize and acknowledge these actions that they're doing, we're not acknowledging the religious implications, but we're acknowledging these people acting upon their own humanity, not
Right.
their own religion.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it. And like some Clark in the live chat is saying, most Muslims are better than the Quran, which is very true. And I also want to point out, because we get a lot of shit for being biased, but if anybody, like, look at today's news. Like, we are shitting on, I think, China in a bit for their anti-Muslim stuff. We're looking at India's anti-Muslim stuff. We're being fair to the not all priests being child molesters. What else was there? Like, if anybody just looked at only today's, we said it was unfair for that Swiss Muslim person to get fined for saying Allahu Akbar. If anybody just watched only today's news, they would think we're just religion apologists, right? But we bring stories like this when we show like Muslims are doing great work. In fact, when the Muslims raised money for that for the victims of that synagogue shooting, we covered that. And again, Jim and I didn't pick the news. It's the rest of the team that picked the news, which to me shows that they're pretty fair on what they're giving me and Jim to cover. And also when there was an atheist that did the shooting at the church, like we covered that as well. We mentioned that this guy was an atheist and he did a shooting at church, and we cover all of this stuff. And we still, every time that we start shitting on Islam for something that it is blamed on Islam, we still get shit of comment. Oh, you're so biased. You blame everything on Islam. When non-Muslims do it, you don't mention it. When Muslims are the victims, you don't mention it. Like, yeah, no, we do.
Well,
we do all the time.
And to me, that just says that you and I are doing the right thing, Armin, because we are in the middle of the road. We're looking at both sides, and we're looking at it from an outside perspective and saying, okay, like, who's right here? Like, and we point out the fallacies in the argument, and we point out the good things in the argument, and we point out why certain titles are misleading. But we're always going to have people on each side, bitching about it. But as long as we have people on both sides bitching about it, that means we're doing something right.
Right. Yeah. It's usually more than two sides, but you're right. Jackie's saying good going. However, the more things go to shit, the more incentive for folks to push government to get desperately needed paychecks. to the folk who do this job, so leave mess alone. Oh, Jack is saying Jack wants people to leave all the garbage alone so that the government shutdown ends so people get their paychecks. I don't know if that's a good strategy or not, but your incentives might be good.
Think about the turtles.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean. Dirty Dancer is saying you should be biased. Well, we are biased against religion, Dirty Dancer. We are biased against religion. We're just not biased against all people, okay?
Yeah, I mean,
and we
both have our personal biases, but we also point out the unbiased approach to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is biased against bullshit, and religion is bullshit. Yeah. And to defend the truth, you have to be biased against religion. We are biased, but we are not. But we try to make sure that when we are blaming religion for something, we try our best. We don't always get it right. We try to make sure that we are accurately blaming religion for it. And also, when people try to give credit to religion for something, we try to make sure that we don't give religion credit for that, and we give credit to the people that are doing something not because of their religion, but in spite of their religion, and because of their humanity, as Jim pointed out. Let me see. Oh, some Doorknob Head is saying equal opportunity shit throwers, good monkeys, good monkeys. Oh, thank you. Grant in the Facebook live chat is saying you guys do an amazing job. Oh, thank you. I believe you are changing minds and helping people live a normal life minus the fairy tale. Ah, Grant, that's very sweet. That made my day. Thank you. Can you thank humanism? Well, we're all. So Daniel is asking if we can thank humanism. I think we're all born with a little bit of humanism in our DNA, so I guess we can.
Well, I mean, we can't thank humanism, but what we can do is we can thank the person for acting on their humanism.
Yeah, maybe. I just say thank the people that did. Just thank the individuals that did the kind act. And Jack, even if you disagree that this is a good strategy or not, at least we could. The people that did it because it was a kind thing to do, whether or not you think it's a good idea or not. All right, let's go to the next news.
Next news. China passes law to make Islam compatible with socialism. As crackdown against Muslims and Islamic symbols continue, a new decree seeks to guide Islam. The new law seeks to synthesize Islam within the next 5 years to rewrite how the religion is practiced. After a meeting with representatives from 8 Islamic associations, government officials agreed to guide Islam to be compatible with socialism and implement measures to synthesize the religion. How do you think that's going to go?
I think China really hates anything that it cannot fully control. This is really crazy. By the way, this is a huge fuck you to all the atheists that were supporting China because they thought China was being anti-Islamic. China is not being anti-Islamic. China would be happy with an Islam they could completely control. China is just anti not having things in its control. Okay, this is tyranny. So for people that were defending China because this was like, oh, this is great, this is anti-Islam, how could you be an atheist and not support this? Well, you're supporting tyranny. Okay, we're against Islam because Islam by its very nature is tyrannical. Islam supports tyranny. Well, we're against China being tyrannical as well. This is fucking tyranny. We don't support. You can't defeat an evil by supporting another evil. This is bullshit. This is. Yeah,
let me make a point, and then I want to let you build on that. I just want to point out that to synthesize something means to make it adaptable to Chinese culture.
Yes.
So what they're trying to do is, and Armin's going to hate me for using this word, but they're trying to reform Islam in order to. Well, I didn't say moderate. I said reform. Right. They're trying to reform Islam to line up with their current beliefs. Like for instance, things that are huge parts of Islam that are already forbidden in China are things like praying out in the open, fasting, growing a beard, wearing a hijab, wearing a headscarf, wearing any sort of religious covering. And some other things, but it seems to be most of these things that are that are compulsory, that are I'm sorry, not compulsory, but are that are mandatory in these religions that China wants to change about Islam. So I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing. The only thing that's bad about it is that it's being forced by an external entity. Now, if it came from within Islam, then that's different.
What do you mean the only thing that's bad about it is that it's forced? That's the entire point. That's why it's bad. Like, it's like...
But it's good that they are willing to allow Islamic practicing, as long as they do not bring along all of this or some of the negative baggage.
First of all, for Muslims, this is worse than being forced not to practice Islam. Okay, this is bid'ah. This is changing Islam. According to Muslims, is way worse than you just abandoning Islam altogether. Okay, or you just, in fact, they would love it if you forced them not to practice Islam, because they were like, oh, you know, look, we could put, all the Muslims in the world could start pointing at China, which they haven't done as much yet, which is amazing, because I mean, this is getting some attention among some Muslim communities, but it's not at all getting as much attention as the Muslims in Burma or in Palestine, or anything that has a Western government. Like, they know their traditional enemies, right? Israel and United States. This is not getting as much attention they deserve. I mean, the number of people that are being forced to practice in camps, in concentration camps, because they're Muslim in China, and all of this now is astronomically higher than the number of Muslims in Palestine. I'm not excusing other stuff, but I'm just saying that the fact that this is not getting attention by the Muslim community relative to those stuff is amazing, but it will eventually, because I think, as I mentioned before, Muslims will eventually start seeing atheism as a greater threat than the more recent enemies that they're used to, which is modernity, the West, and Israel. So when they see atheism as a greater threat, China is going to be the perfect boogeyman for them to paint as the new great devil, right? But not right now. Not yet. And especially, it's very interesting. I want to see how this is going to play out in Pakistan, because Pakistanis love China. China and Pakistan have a lot of like trade deals right now, and it's bringing a lot of like money into Pakistan. And I don't know, like, all the Pakistanis that call out anything anti-Islamic in United States or in Israel or in Europe or in Canada, when they see it, they just lose their mind. Pakistan is even controlling social media related stuff in companies that are US based, because of they're offended by stuff. But they're not saying shit about China yet, even though they're like, yeah, this is fucking... So China, like, Pakistan is offended, for example, by my anti-Islamic tweets. When I post anti-Islamic tweets, they're offended by that, and all of a sudden it gets completely banned from Pakistan. Our page is apparently banned in Pakistan. Did you know that? But they're buddies with China, even though my tweets didn't put anybody in fucking concentration camps, but China is. So Pakistan is more afraid of my tweets than a fucking entire country that is oppressing millions of Muslims. Like, your priority, like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. More atheists are talking about the inhumanity of what China is doing to Muslims than on a per capita basis than Muslims are, this is okay. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, I just want to add that, I mean, you know, if we look at Christianity today, you know, we have had a lot of, and I say we, as in myself, living in a mostly Christian culture, that we have made huge strides in the acceptance of things that are otherwise considered not Christian or sinful, such as homosexuality. Things have changed, or have been changed, with the interpretation in order to fit with society, with the changing of society, in order to make Christian belief and ideology compatible in some way. So do you believe, Armin, that changing these things that aren't necessarily fundamental, I mean, would you say that in the interest of making things compatible with society, to decrease the uprising or the tension in society. Wouldn't you say that that's generally good?
No, no. The way societies have reformed societies is by moving away from religion, not by changing religion. That has always, always.
But they are moving away from it.
I'm answering your question,
like
Jim. I'm answering your question. Okay, this whole changing religion from within is nonsense. Religion needs to be abandoned, not change. And that would be I mean, I have had entire episodes on this, and that was an entire discussion of its own. But for people to try to replace one bullshit with a different bullshit because this is a less harmful bullshit, that's absolutely nonsense. You don't reform religion, you defeat religion. It's the society's, religion has always been put in a defensive mode by better competing ideas. It has never been because of a change from within, or by trying to tweak the mythology, or by trying to change the bullshit that people believe in. That's not the way you don't take away a lie from people and replace it with a different lie and expect progress. You fight lies with the truth. That's how you bring in progress. But that's an entire other episode that I could talk hours on, and I have talked hours on.
The whole way that I escaped religion was by changing things that I didn't necessarily agree with, and trying to find reasons, like in the Bible, trying to find justifications for justifying my beliefs the way society should be. For example, I didn't believe that people like homosexuals and people who have sex before marriage should be marginalized and should be looked down upon. And so I was trying to find justifications for that, just like a lot of Christians do. And after one thing led to another, finding one thing that I didn't agree with after another, and it being pointed out to me, and me finding justification that it's not necessary for me to believe in this nor to be a Christian, that eventually led to me saying, well, it's all bullshit. So I mean, maybe
that proves my point, actually, because when people are looking for baby step, I said don't change the religion so that it could last longer, because the way you when you try to go defend it, you find the problems with it and you doubt, and that's the baby step. Actually, Amir in the Facebook live chat is saying it's easier to change religion first and then it gets abandoned. Actually, no. Changing religion is basically a defense mechanism and makes it last longer. The way if you think, I'm not saying outright abandonment is you could expect that, but doubt is the people say, oh, reform is a baby step. No, reform is not a baby step. Reform is a step in the wrong direction. Doubt is a baby step, and doubt is a baby step, and it's intellectually honest. Because you don't have to lie to people to make them be skeptical about their views. You just get that one tiny seed of doubt. Anyways, I don't want to get into it because that's not. This is a huge discussion.
Just real quick.
No.
Just real quick. Would you say that this is better, like allowing people to practice their religion within these parameters? Would you say that that's better than mandating that they do not practice at all and mandating state atheism?
Well, I mean, before I respond to that, Grant is saying you cannot associate the two. I think he's saying that China with atheism. I didn't say that. I'm saying Chinese government policies is based on atheism. Atheism doesn't have any doctrines. But what I was trying to suggest is that a lot of Muslims outside of China, when they want to attack atheism, they're going to try to make that case. With regards to what you said, Jim, you're comparing two different evils, and obviously one evil is worse than the other one. But that doesn't mean one of them is not evil. I could still, just because something is better than what an example that you could come up with, it doesn't mean it's not wrong. The fact is that this is forced, it's tyranny, it's government getting involved in people's practices, and it's not the right way. We fight Islam. This is not the right way to fight Islam. I could
Dirty Dancer in the comment section says they agree with you. And they say that it's important not to give people outs for their dissonance.
Exactly. I mean, you could say, Jim, I could ask you the same question. Isn't this what China doing not better than coming out and outright shooting every single person that they find praying? And it would be like, yes, this is better, but that doesn't mean that this is good. I could still condemn this and acknowledge that it's better than some other worst case scenario. Only okay. By the way, I will have an entire episode against reforming Islam or against reforming any religion. A lot of people are like, oh, Christianity got reformed in Europe. No, Christianity was not reformed in Europe. Christianity was defeated in Europe by Enlightenment values and by better values. It was nothing within Christianity that made it better, or it was nothing within the Bible that changed. No, it was nowhere Christians that came and decided like, hey, let's maybe make things better. No, it was there were better values, better ideas that came and competed with Christianity, and they won, and Christianity had to take a backseat. Christianity was and always will be a barbaric, backward doctrine that needs to always be fought against, never reform, same as Islam. Islam needs to always be defeated, never reform. They both need to die. And again, this is about the ideas, not the people. Let me see the top comment. Lars is saying Islam isn't compatible with anything other than Islam. Well, China is. I'm hoping that you got tyranny is not also compatible with anything other than tyranny. So I don't endorse Islam or Chinese tyrannical practices. Benny is saying a mental illness isn't compatible with real. By the way, the title of this article says China passes law to make Islam compatible with socialism. Well, while you're at that, China, do you want to make China more compatible with socialism? Because you're one of the most capitalist countries in the world right now. I don't understand how you want to make Islam compatible with socialism when China. I wasn't going to go down that rabbit hole. You're right. China is not compatible with socialism. So yeah. I mean, I'm not against that. I mean, that's a good thing about China that is embracing capitalism, but it's
but don't insult socialism like that.
I mean, we disagree on that, I guess. Liam is saying China is doing the best thing for a country. Well, we'll see about that. When you're fighting monsters, try not to turn into one. Again, we always say that this is China's internal affair. U.S. is going to create ISIS in China. I don't know if people say this is a country's internal affair as if they're defending it. Okay, well then you're defending Saudi Arabia as well. They could chop off people's heads. It's their own internal affairs. They get to. What if it was a country's internal affair to rape every single child? Like, are you still gonna step back and be like, oh, it's their own internal policies, their law, their business? No, fuck that. Yeah. These are our fellow human beings. We get involved when you mistreat other human beings. I don't care if they're Chinese or not Chinese. I don't care if you don't own your own. A government doesn't own its own people. You don't get to say like it's their own people. They get to have their own laws. No, fuck that. We get involved when the rest of the world should get involved when people are being mistreated.
It's a lot easier to say that whenever you are detached from it. But if you were an ex-Muslim and you were looking at the rest of your family that were still believers being rounded up and forced to do this, you would have a much different outlook on it.
Grant, I see your question, but sorry if I'm ignoring it because it's not relevant to. Maybe it's a little bit relevant, so I'm going to read it. Armin, you were forced into Islam? ? Because you were young. Technically, yeah, I guess, yeah, because I never had it. Nobody asked me. It was decided for me. Okay, anything that we need to read in the YouTube live chat?
Not that I see. Nope, okay. That was the last one.
All right, last news.
Amazon is selling toilet covers printed with Islamic scripture amid complaints from Muslim community. The online retailer Amazon is selling items including toilet seat covers adorned with Islamic iconography amid complaints they are offensive to the Muslim community. It recently announced its decision to withdraw a selection of products featuring Islamic scripture from its site following a request from an American Muslim civil rights group. A variety of products are still available to purchase, but the retailer stated that all products in violation of its policies will be reviewed.
What
toilet seat covers decorated with the word Allah, and shower curtains referencing the religious festival Eid can still be found on Amazon.
What policies would this be against on Amazon? It's a toilet. Yeah. It's on top of the seat. Like, what policies would be like? What?
Well, they're saying that it violates their own policies.
What policies do they have that this violates?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking to see which ones exactly that they
does
that they
Amazon
violated.
does Amazon have a policy that says Allah's name should not be on toilet seats? Like what they
No, that there is no policy saying that.
so they're giving in to the pressure.
Yeah, that they're saying that it's intentional, and it's a trigger word for you, but
This
it's
is actually
intentional
kind of
Islamophobia.
intentional. This actually looks very pretty. It looks like it's celebrating Islam to me. The picture that I'm looking at, it looks actually kind of cool.
I think instead of Allah though, they should have put Muhammad, because don't they say peace be upon him? Isn't that what they say?
No, but it's on the there's nothing is gonna touch it. It's on top of the toilet seat. It's like to decorate the seat. It doesn't even. It's not a place where anything piss or shit is gonna touch it.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't put my toothbrush there.
Okay, yeah, but just okay. Well, I think there should. Okay, this is if people are being sensitive about this, this needs to backfire again. So this is a good ending, because I think today we did too much news that seems like we were which we weren't. Like we were defending Islam, which we weren't. We were only defending Muslims. But this is something that if people are being sensitive about, I say people should now go sell it at other places. This should become popular item to sell because Muslims are offended about it. In fact, go even further. I think people should start if selling like toilet paper with Allah's name on it.
Right. Well, I went and I was looking, and some of the things that had been removed was like a doormat with some verses from the Quran on it, because you're stepping on it and it's offensive.
Okay, these things should become popular. If people want things removed because they are offended by it, then the reaction should be that it needs to backfire. Because this whole we're offended thing should never be able to become a powerful weapon. Every time somebody wants to use that as a weapon, it needs to backfire so much to make the whole offense thing a useless weapon. We need to signal to the whole world that if you want to use this, you're going to regret this. So these items need to become... Hey, do you think we could sell it on our Atheist Republic store? Like, we have a store. Do we have, like, toilet items on our store? We don't. We have, like...
No, not yet, but we need to.
Yeah, we can, like, sell toilet paper with the Quran writing on it. Oh, my God.
But one of the big problems is organizations like this that are perpetuating this. This is the CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations. And these people, they're this Muslim civil rights and advocacy group, and they are about as extreme left wing as you can get. And they're the ones who perpetuate this whole Islamophobic culture in order for their own benefit. I mean, and they are so quick to publicize things like this that otherwise people wouldn't give a shit about. But they get a couple of complaints and then they blow it up just for their own publicity. I believe.
Oh, I don't know, but the way I look at it is that you have Islam versus a giant fucking company like Amazon, and Islam won. Islam wins just by using the offended card. Islam wins over a multi-billion-dollar company, which shows to me.
That's a problem with some of these advocacy groups, is that they believe that just because they're a minority means that they are right in their ideology, and they are willing to defend something like Islam because in places like the market of Amazon or in the United States, they are considered a minority, and so they are so eager to find anything that is considered anti-Islam, and they just jump on it.
Right. I mean, we should find other things. I don't know. This is stupid. Okay, here's the thing. We need to file a complaint to Amazon for selling the Quran then, because we atheists, this is just like a covering. It's not hurting anybody. It's not a call for, there's no call for violence on this toilet cover. There's nothing like that. But the Quran it actively says that people like you and me, Jim, we need to we are deserving of eternal torture. And they sell hadith books on Amazon, which advocates for killing somebody like me who has left Islam. So we should.
They have a book on Amazon that I actually bought for my own research, written by the Ayatollah Khomeini. It's called The Little Green Book. And in that book, it talks about how you can have sex with children as long as you do not penetrate them. You can have sex with their thighs. And this is something that is written as a...
No, let me correct you. You can have sex with children as long as they're older than 9. You can penetrate them if they're older than 9.
Yes,
but even
if they're not 9.
Even before 9, you could still have sex with them as long as you don't penetrate them. And that's according to Khomeini for Islamic Republic of Iran. And it's but this is I bought this book, which I'm showing right now for people that are listening on podcasts. I'm showing Hadith Bukhari, and this book has a lot of teachings in it that specifically says that I should be killed. I should be killed. So I've never thought about, I mean, I'm for free speech, so I don't want these books to be removed from Amazon, but I want these things to be available because I buy it, so I can show how barbaric Islam is. But I might want to complain to Amazon now, just not because I want these removed, but because to show the hypocrisy that I might want to claim that I'm offended by this. Amazon, you have to remove every fucking hadith book. In fact, remove the Quran and remove the Bible. I'm offended by the Bible. I'm offended by the Quran. I'm offended by anything Jewish. They all teach us that we like the Jewish religion sees us as subhuman, right? So that we're going to be slaves one day at the end of times. All of these are offensive. Remove all these religious teachings, any religious books. They should all be removed from Amazon. And if they're not being removed from Amazon, why is there a double standard? Why is it that the Muslims can go and remove something that is not even calling for violence, it's not harming anybody? They can get that removed from Amazon. But when I go and say I'm offended by a book that is actually calling for violence against me, that will not get removed. I bet that will never get removed. It would be a nightmare for them if it gets removed. All the Muslims will be like, what the hell? Our hadith books can't be on Amazon anymore? They will lose their mind. And Amazon is never going to remove them. But at least maybe we could show their hypocrisy if we file a complaint and say that these need to be removed. Anyways, that was let me see the top comments on Facebook. Is Lucas saying I want toilet papers with the Quran on it? Yeah, me too. Who sells that? Derek is saying that is disrespectful towards the toilet. Okay, I mean it looks pretty decent actually. I might have bought that if I saw it, just because. I mean I always tell Muslims that Islam is actually fun if you don't believe in it, because it's just if you don't believe in it, it's like Asian mythology, right? It's just like fiction. And if Islam was a dead religion, I think it would be a fun mythology to study. And I'm fascinated by Islam, and I like the art on it. I might have bought this. It looks pretty cool. Pretom is saying religion has finally found its perfect place. Steve is saying good, something to piss all over. What are you talking? If you piss all over this, you're gonna have a very dirty washroom. Anyways, anything in the YouTube live chat that we need to read? I'm gonna look at Atheist Republic's Facebook live chat.
Let's see.
I see Mars is saying something.
Yes, Mars says, totally agree with you about the toilet seats. Charlie Hebdo's cartoons come to mind. Yeah, exactly. And it's all about, desensitizing things like that, things that they would normally find offensive. Which, I mean, Armin might disagree with me there, but I mean it's part of making religion compatible with society, because in order for religion to be defeated, you have to escape the fundamental beliefs, and in order to change fundamental beliefs, one of the most powerful influences is external societal pressures. So once you get the society saying, hey, this isn't compatible with the way that we understand things to be, then the religion slowly gets changed, and that leads to abandonment of the religion.
Yeah, I do disagree with you because religion will never be compatible with society. Religion could the only thing that we need to do to make society better is to remove religion as much as we can from society. Religion can be as much
I think we agree, though.
Yeah, religion could be as much compatible with society as any superstition or nonsense or any false belief could be compatible with society. If something is not true, it should always be fought against.
Yeah,
But,
so I think that I actually agree with you, and I think you actually agree with me. But what I'm saying is that by forcing religion to be compatible with modern society, it eliminates some of these fundamental necessities in this religion, and it shows people that their religion is not compatible or meshable with today's society, and it causes people to abandon their religion because by the end of that time they have nothing to build from. That their foundation is ruined.
All right, so this was the last story. Thank you, everybody. We're going to leave it here. Thank you, Christy, Muscal. Is Beach here? Beach, I think, is here. Is Mike here? Because I miss Mike. And also, Soraya is not showing up these days. Okay, thank you, everybody in live chat. Zane, Wolf, who's this? Striking Hand, Doorknob Head, that's cool. Smithy, and also Grant on the Facebook. Let me know if I didn't read anybody. Grant on the Facebook live chat. Abu Abdullah on the Facebook. Lynn.
Smitty, Jack McGowan, thank you guys. Michal, thank you for coming.
Oh, wait, Mike is here? No, wait, no. Not Jehovah Witness. Easy. Jack as well, yeah. Oh, yeah, Beach is here. Thanks, Jim and Armin. Oh, thank you. Christy, by the way, in the live chat, we're going to try to get her on the show to co-host with us sometimes. She has experience with this, yeah.
I messaged you on Twitter. Check it.
All right, guys. Love you all. Thank you so much for correcting us when we made a mistake. And if we still made a mistake, hopefully, once this video is released on YouTube, you could correct us in the comment section. And thank you for disagreeing with us. And thank you for joining us today. And hopefully see you again next week. Love you. Bye.